But in general, it was one dish, and then you would see 6, 7, 8 vegetable dishes. So that's really reflected just in everyday life here. If someone has meat, it's a tiny amount in comparison to the amount of vegetables they eat. All right, welcome back to part 2 of our Mediterranean lifestyle continuation series. So we just talked about and kind of defined the blue zones that we talk about so much, and now we wanted to just discuss examples, real life examples that we've seen during our time in Greece, and also we can, I think, refer back to some of our other travels where we've seen examples of the blue zones.
Yeah.
We've been lucky enough, both of us have been to Costa Rica, and Ajoy has been to Okinawa. Have you been to Okinawa?
No, I've never been to Okinawa, but I've been close. Yeah, I've been close to Okinawa.
Close. Just like we're not actually in Ikaria, Greece, but we're close. And we weren't actually in Nicoya, Costa Rica, but we were close. So
you're always close. We need to get to these places.
Yeah, at some point we will actually go there. Yeah. But anyway, we just wanted to give the real life examples and inspirations that we've seen in our travels, which is
this one should be great. More exciting for us as well as the listeners.
Yeah, and just to remind you that our goal in these podcasts is to educate you and empower you with our fabulous life stories so that you can prevent and hopefully bid farewell to chronic health issues permanently. And if you've forgotten already, I'm Dr. Jenny Prabhu, and this dude sitting next to me is Ajoy Prabhu. So let's dive right in, as our older son likes to say. Ajoy, do you want to talk about the very first experience we had when we arrived in Greece?
Yeah. So I mean, it was we always knew that Greece is a kind of chill place, but you know, the experience at the immigration counter itself was amazing. Like, this lady, all she did was smile at us and said, "Welcome to Greece," and you know, wanted to insisted on seeing the kids, not to take not to identify them or anything, but you know, just to say hi to them, which was so refreshing. I mean, she just basically was, you know, I could tell that she was actually wanted to see the children, like, you know, say hi to them and just say.
The first time the immigration was not stressful. I think we always stress about immigration because of where are you going, why are you going there, and
how many days, and
do you have the right visa, and blah blah blah. But this was truly just, hey, welcome to Greece, have a nice day, your kids are cute, basically.
Yeah, literally she said something like that. She's like, oh, very cute children, or something like that.
Speaking of children, I, as a pediatrician and as a parent too, I guess, really, even before knowing about blue zones and this sort of thing, I really judge a place on how they treat children, which is why I fell in love with India so much, because in India, children really are treated like gods, and people respect children, and, you know, it takes a lot, I guess, for them to be annoyed by children doing their normal children activities.
That's true.
And Greece, I have found to be the same way. You know, our kids are not total hellions most of the time, but they can be loud and rambunctious like every child is supposed to be. We have not gotten a single dirty look since we've been here. And in fact, I think we've been more strict with them, yelling at the kids to calm down. But nobody, you know, whether it's in a restaurant or on a train or a bus or a ferry or wherever, no one has said your kids are misbehaving or, you know, told them that they should quiet down or that sort of thing. So that was very refreshing to me, because having been to other parts of Europe, I don't find that that's necessarily the case, although I haven't been to that many parts of Europe.
I can assure you that that's the case.
Has, I guess. And also, unfortunately, in the U.S., in some parts, it's the same way. So.
Very stressful. And they get all stressed when they... let's give one example. In Greece, just yesterday, we were looking at a store where they had a lot of delicate items. Mm-hmm. And one of our kids, you know, in their rush, of course, in their excitement, bumped into a table. And both of us turned around and
started
yelling at him. And the lady was like, no, they are just children, she said. And she shrugged.
Yelled at us.
She almost yelled at us, saying they're just children.
And it's not breakable, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and...
so we were kind of put back in our place.
Yeah.
She's right. I mean, they are just children. Mm-hmm. And... you know, that's the thing we would go into. We've gone into so many stores, and first thing we say to them is, don't touch anything. And 95% of the time, people in Greece have been very welcoming of our kids. So yesterday when we were last night, we were walking back from dinner and with our own kids at, almost midnight, we noticed our kids weren't the only ones out. There were children sitting in the outdoor cafes with their family. So that's been very refreshing.
Yeah. And same goes for senior citizens. Let's talk a little bit about
The other
market difference I noticed. Mm-hmm. What is defined as a senior citizen might shock some of you. In Greece, anyone over the age of, before you continue, hit pause and guess what the age could be. Anyone over the age of 80 is considered senior citizen. If you are under 80, you are not.
You don't get that discount.
You don't get that discount. What does that tell you? That tells you that people are living longer here.
And this is for like hikes and tours. So they expect that people over 80 will be going on these hikes and tours.
Yeah. And for example, hikes and tours reminds me that we were passing by this place and we saw a tour bus stopping, and this lady gets down, sprightly lady with a placard in her hand, like with some number on it, because she's going to tell everybody to follow her. Yeah, she looked like at least she was 75. She was not a senior citizen. 75. Not a senior citizen.
You're not considered a senior citizen.
And she's like walking fast and telling everybody to where to go and so on and so forth. Yeah, to keep up with her. So that was one example. Then talk about Nikos, the owner's father that came here, right? I mean, we thought that some older gentleman would come here, and we didn't expect fairly old gentleman to come here.
He said, my father will meet you and show you around. But yeah, this gentleman was definitely well into his 70s, if not around 80, and still
drove his car.
I'm sorry?
His car was about 2 blocks away.
He had parked his car down the street. He showed us.
When she says down the street, it was at least 500 meters away.
So, he was walking around easily, showing us all the intricacies of the house. Definitely no dementia going on with him. He was telling us about things that happened with his children years and years ago, and telling us stories, that sort of thing. So, he's still working, right? He's still included in his son's business, and he still has a purpose. He still has an ikigai.
Mm-hmm. And what about the cleaning lady here? Do you remember her?
Same. She probably was about the same age.
Yeah, she's vacuuming with gusto, no problems whatsoever, bending down, looking under the furniture.
Yeah, and I don't know if we mentioned this in the podcast with Kiki, but when we were on the beaches in the Greek islands, Naxos and Paros, seeing older, again, probably over 80 people playing in the ocean. I mean, how often do you see that? Usually, we're used to, unfortunately, seeing older people just sitting in their wheelchairs, sitting at home and not interacting much. But these guys were literally playing with their partner, playing with their friends. And after they get out of the ocean, they'd sit down and toast with ozu or something. Yeah.
Do you remember that where near the Apollo's gate in Naxos Island, we saw on one side of I don't know if you have been to Naxos Island, you know that there is one part of the island on I guess if you're looking at the Apollo's gate on the right hand side, there's a very rough seas. On the left side, because it's been dammed, it's very calm but very, very cold water. And two ladies just jumped in, like they must be at least in their 70s, if not more, jumped in, and they were calling their husbands to jump into the water. And I couldn't believe it. They just
like 8 p.m.
8 p.m. in the night. And I said, I wouldn't put my toe in there, in that water, freezing water. And these ladies were just enjoying life. So when we say growing old, we don't mean like growing old and doing nothing. We mean growing old and still enjoying life, still, being with your grandkids and still. Yeah. What? Yeah. That's as far as the senior citizens are concerned. We really, even now we constantly see so many more older citizens just simply, living their life exactly as if they were like, 25 or something. Do you want to talk about how they treat others?
I think just as we like to judge a place by how they treat children, I also see how they treat, workers or how they treat their employees, that sort of thing. So, unfortunately, again, in other parts of the world, this is not necessarily the norm, but here we've seen that, especially with our friend Kiki, how when we go out to a restaurant, how it's like coming home to an old friend, even if she never met these people before. she orders the food and then she asks where they're from and what their favorite item on the menu is and what they're studying in school and et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, we of course couldn't understand exactly what she was saying, but we asked her, like, why did you have such a long conversation with the waiter or waitress? And then she would say, oh yeah, I ordered the food, but then after that they were telling me about their grandmother that cooks this dish in, you know, Ikaria or wherever, whichever island or whichever village they're from in Greece. So you take the time to learn a little bit about the employee.
Yeah, and then pay respect to
worker.
the work that they're doing.
Yeah, they're not just there to serve you; they actually have their own life, their own personality. We noticed last night when we were. I guess this is kind of covering two examples, but yesterday we were just having a glass of wine, and the kids were having some bread and olive oil, like they've been enjoying while we've been here. And we noticed the group behind us. There was some problem with one of the gentleman's drinks, and he, you know, kind of like subtly asked the waitress to come over, and he explained what the problem was, and then she brought him a new one. But, and, you know, he like patted her on the back, and they had a laugh about it. I mean, that is so not the norm. He didn't yell at her. He didn't demand that she give him the drink.
Call the manager.
And the rest of his table, I don't think, was even aware that something untoward had happened. So that was just one example. But yeah, I mean, it's really refreshing to see.
Yeah, they just let it, like you always say, roll off your back, right? So one place we in I believe in Paros Island, we had rented a car, and unfortunately I underestimated the amount of fuel that was needed, and I didn't fill enough. And when I took the car back, the guy looked at the gauge and the fuel gauge and said, it's a little less, but it's okay.
Who's gonna know?
Who's gonna notice, or something like that? And you know, he just patted me on the back, and I left, and no questions asked about, like, oh, you owe me another, you know, 20 euros for this, whatever. You know, he just let it go, because it's easier, or sorry, it's better for him in the long run to not worry about these things. And you know, this is like almost like the chalta hai attitude we have in India, but a little, I would say, if you take the chalta hai attitude and apply it to things that, you know, could potentially matter, but you should let it go, then you can say, chalta hai. You know, you didn't add enough fuel, chalta hai. You know, that kind of a thing. One other, again, similar example that I have with, I thought that was, you know, could be an exception, but something happened in Naxos Island now.
Also with the rental car.
Also with a rental car. So apparently in Greece, whenever you rent a car, you should take a video of the outside of the car and inside of the car to show all the damage that is there. The car that we rented was an absolute rattle tap. I firmly believe that in my lifetime, I've not driven a car that is as falling apart as this car. I'm not complaining.
It did the job.
Huh?
It took us.
It did the job. And you know, I'm not at all complaining about the fact that car was basically a steering wheel, a brake, and 4 wheels, but it was dented on 2-3 sides. So when I returned the car, the guy who took the keys from me, he was not the person who had given me the car. So he looked at the dents and scratches, and he said, no, you have to go to the office. So I said, for what? He said, no, that's because you've dented and you know, like, scratched up the car. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't scratch up this car. So he called the manager. She came in, she looked at it, and all I said to her was, I promise you, I did not do this, and neither did I park in a place which was very narrow where somebody could have dented this car. I said, please look at it. And she said, well, did you take a video? I said, I'm sorry, I did not take a video. I did not know I was supposed to take a video. She said, you should take a video. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't do it. She goes, it's okay, let it be. And she just let us go. So there also is clear evidence of things, you know, they just let it roll off their back, right? So it really helps if you kind of like let go of things that are not really as important. I mean, those dents, I know that they were there before. And whether she knew it or not, she knew that this rattle trap of a car is not worth fixing those dents or even arguing with me about it. What about some of the other examples that we had, you know, we had talked about earlier? I mean, we noticed some other things, right?
Yeah, I mean, what I again, in our walk last night, but also just in general, is so many people eating al fresco, eating outside, which is something I think is in a lot of Europe, not just here in Greece. But the difference is here, it's hot. I mean, it's 40, around 38, 39, 40 degrees Celsius, so it's definitely hot. But instead of sitting in enclosed, AC blasting restaurants, most people are sitting outside with a fan or with some cool mist blowing. We've seen in a lot of these outdoor restaurants. The majority of the restaurants that we walk by, even in midday for lunchtime, people are sitting outside, and the inside is completely empty.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of what we see in India and America. Definitely, everyone wants to run away to.
In Venezuela, also, I noticed that Venezuela, everybody wants to be inside, not in the AC, not sit outside.
But here, people enjoy the fresh air, enjoy the breeze, which there's a beautiful breeze here all the time, and that's maximized by the fans and everything. But even last night at midnight, I noticed the emptiness inside the restaurant. Everyone's sitting outside with their friends. So not only is it better for you to breathe the oxygen and get the vitamin D, but also there's more people, so you're around more.
Do you remember when we went to eat at that Italian restaurant? The lady was almost apologetic that we have to sit inside.
Yeah, we wanted to sit out. I mean, there was a very small restaurant, only 2 tables outside, and they were occupied. But she was like, "I'm so sorry," and we said, "It's okay." So she kind of scooted the table closer to
the door,
basically, so we could get some fresh air. But yeah, I mean, that's something that us as a family has always preferred, but we've noticed that seems to be the norm here, which is definitely following a lot of the blue zone rules.
Yeah. And kind of in theme with that, I guess, because we've been eating out, we've been noticing these things, but today hopefully we'll see other examples. If we do, we can try to report it on those also. And the last one that I want to leave you with is something that happens all the time in India. I don't think it happens at all. I mean, in my almost 40 years in the US, I've never seen that happen. I've seen it in other countries like Venezuela, Costa Rica. Definitely, I've seen that. When you're even in a touristy area, when you're ordering food, the waiter or waitress will stop you saying, "I'm sorry, I think you have too many things. You may want to cut it down." In India, it definitely happens. I've seen it multiple times happen when in our enthusiasm we always tend to overorder. But the waiter or waitress in India comes to us and says, "Sir, I think it's a little too much. Maybe we should cut it back." Exactly the same thing happened here. And they said, "Oh, maybe you should cut back on a couple of things." So that's it's not for the money. It's not for getting a bigger tip or feeling that it should be whatever. Like, I think it really comes a sense of belonging or community, saying these guys are here to have a nice time. Let's not give them extra food and then ruin their evening and they'll be wasting. Yeah, so many aspects that they think about, or not they think about actively, but it's ingrained,
And that also carries into shopping. Even we went. Gone to a shopping department store. The other day, and I was trying on some dresses, and I, too much to my husband's chagrin, tried on probably about 10 or 12 dresses, and also actually just the experience of shopping here was so different for me. It wasn't just me choosing what I wanted to try on. The woman that was helping me noticed my body type, and I guess she kind of got an idea of what I liked and was suggesting dresses. It felt like a personal shopping experience. So anyway, but there were about 5-6 dresses that I really liked, and she could tell because I'm like, "Oh, I like this one, I don't like this one." So she easily could said, "Okay, I'll wrap up these 6 dresses for you." But she said, "I think you should take this one, the blue one, and the black one." She only suggested 2 out of the 6, 7 that I liked. So that is, again, so far removed from what I'm used to.
Actually, she suggested 2 and you took 3.
And I took 3. Yes, that's another issue. But it's so, usually they're pushing more on you, saying, "Oh, you like these 6? Here, take these other 2. Also, we're having a special today if you buy this." But she didn't do that.
It goes to show not just like a sense of what would. I think the key here is to think about what would you do in their, or
Put yourself in their
put yourself, and this lady put herself in the shoes of Dr. Jenny and said, oh, what would I like? Would I like somebody to push, 6 dresses on me, or would I like to just say, that was a good experience. I picked up 2 really nice ones, and then the rest we can think about later, and leaves a good taste in your mouth. And on that good note of good taste, there was, of course.
Taste, of course, I have to add something in. We haven't talked about food at all.
I was trying not to, but okay.
I think when we talked with Kiki, we discussed mostly about the Mediterranean diet and why it's so good for your body and mind. But when we were going over the blue zones, we talked about that most people are actually not vegetarian, but they do eat some amount of meat. And I think we've noticed that here in Greece as well. Even, what we've ordered with our friends, they're certainly not vegetarian. And 99% of the time, our meal would be 1 meat dish, and the rest were all vegetables.
All vegetables.
And we just kind of scoured the restaurant scene and noticed that, yes, there would be a little bit of meat on the table. But in general, it was 1 dish, and then you would see 6, 7, 8 vegetable dishes. So that's really reflected just in everyday life here. If someone has meat, it's a tiny amount in comparison to the amount of vegetables that they eat. So I just wanted to throw that in.
No, I agree with you. I think that's, again, ending on the food note. That's fine.
On a delicious note.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So I hope that this has given you some ideas about how, not just the blue zones, what is the good characteristics of these blue zones and why people tend to live a healthy, long life, but also little glimpses that we've noticed, which kind of tend to, move them in that direction. And I'm hoping that you picked up some things from this episode.
Yeah, and we, of course, will always bring up blue zones and this healthy way of living in many more podcasts to come, I'm sure. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we need to learn from them.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. We really hope you enjoyed our conversation. Can you think about one thing or an idea that you can start to introduce into your own life that will help make your life healthier and less stressful?
If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd really appreciate it if you can take a few seconds to share the podcast with your friends and families. Thank you so much for listening.
And always remember, your health is literally in your own hands. Making lifestyle changes is not an easy task, but we promise you will be aptly rewarded with a long, healthy, and disease-free life.